Hey, welcome everybody to Hollywood on the Rocks. Today's going to be a weird day. You can see I'm not where I normally am. Uh, we are literally doing the show on the fly because my internet went out at home, and I literally drove from the east end of Orange County to the west end of Los Angeles, and that's why it's like this, and that's why you started late. But we have a great show for you today. Derek Anderson, the DA, is joining us today. We're going to talk about girl bosses and a whole bunch of other things on Hollywood on the Rocks. And whoops, I didn't mean to turn that off. But let's just get things going. Hey, there we go. Hey, Derek, how you doing?
What's up, Al, man? Thanks for bringing me in. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
You breaking stuff at your house, man?
Oh my gosh. It's like literally I'm supposed to, like before I do this, I have 2 hours to prepare for the show. Those 2 hours were spent driving here to this location where I'm at. I think I'm near you, but yeah, Derek, for those of you, I've met you on Versus mostly, but yeah, just tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I am a young up and coming YouTuber. You could tell by the gray hair. But yeah, I just started the channel a couple of years back, and just talking Hollywood, talking, just kind of the stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis from a cultural perspective when it comes to entertainment. And been getting the opportunity to come on shows like yours and just discuss things in general. I'm more of a fan, more so than somebody that has a lot of insight from behind the scenes. But I just give my honest opinion. Some people like it, some people don't like it, and that's pretty much me. But yeah, Derek Anderson, the DA, just really appreciate all the fans that have come out there and supported me over the last couple of years. Channel is starting to pick up some steam, and I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying jumping on these Versus is always great. You guys, Film Threat, man, you guys have literally the best channel right now. It's
Yeah, we do.
I'm serious, man. It's so underrated, and the community is awesome. Chris is awesome. You're awesome. Dante, I've had a chance to live stream with him. So I really enjoy this community right here. Shout out. What's up, Film Threat community? You guys are the best in the chat. Sometimes I don't really participate. I just read. And it's always good conversations going on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this, man. Should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, let's go. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for the kind words. My brain is just. This is going to be the least produced show we've ever done because I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants here. Let's go to some comments here. From Chris Gore, don't disappoint me, Alan. Yeah, this will be a fun.
Chris, where you at, though, baby? Where you at, Chris?
I know. In fact, it reminds me. Just give me 1 second here. I want to download a video that I'm going to play later.
Okay, get ready.
It's probably going to ruin my my internet here, but it's an interesting video. I had a chance to see go to a screening of Lawmen Bass Reeves, and David Oyelowo was there, and I want to play something he did, and I'm hoping it shows up in my. Give me 1 second here.
Man, he just left it to me. What's up, everybody? Oh, okay.
There we go. Am I back? Okay, there we go.
I was about to take over, Chris. You don't know. Or Alan, sorry. You about to have a whole different show on your hands.
Oh, exactly. Okay, and then I can't find the... Oh, no, there's the... Is that the video? Oh, boy. Okay. Well, it's going to be a fun one. Okay, let's go right into it. We have more comments. From Lord Thoth, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Sign up as a member, join us on Discord and Rumble, and check out our merch on the website. Yes, you can go to shop.filmthreat.com and pick up some shirts. Our shirts cure nudity. All right, let's go on. From Cass again, our first super chat of the day for $1.99 British pounds. Enjoyed Mars Express like French anime. Unfortunately, we reviewed it when it left the theaters, and so I haven't been able to see it yet. So I think that's coming out on VOD sometime soon. From D Goodheart, wow, Alan just got gored in the chat. That's right, because Chris Gore says, I'm running late. Thanks so much.
Love it.
And then let's see, and then a note to you from Red French Moon for €2. The DA, I enjoyed your videos on Assassin's Creed.
Thanks. I
Yeah,
appreciate that, Red French Moon.
yeah. I'll give you a 2 minute. I'll give you a minute to talk about. Yeah, what were your thoughts on Assassin's Creed?
I mean, I just think it's ridiculous how, you have a culture like the Japanese culture. Fans have been waiting for years upon years to see Assassin's Creed in Japan. It's just a natural fit with ninjas. Just makes all the sense in the world to do Assassin's Creed using Japanese protagonists. And they have one, but then they decide they want to, kind of force feed this, supposed quote unquote black samurai in Yasuke. I mean, again, it's a ridiculous concept. Was he a samurai? Was he not a samurai? It's kind of really irrelevant to the overall fact that, if you're trying to do representation, and that we see this all the time in Hollywood, they're always trying to do representation the wrong way. They don't want to represent it the way that people would really accept it and breathe in, and you could really get a sense of who these folks are. If you wanted to do an Assassin's Creed game with, an African American, put it in, or African black, whatever, put it in Africa. There are 2,000 years of African history you could really explore and dig into and really bring to light and let a lot of people know, hey, wow, I didn't know this about this particular tribe or this particular time and period. So do it there. Don't usurp the Japanese history and just do your own thing. I just think it's again, these cats are so oblivious as to what it is that the audiences want, and they're just doing whatever it is they want to do, and it doesn't land. The trailer's getting absolutely destroyed and ratioed, and good. That's what it deserves.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. It's like you finally put a show in Asia, in Japan, and you still can't have an Asian protagonist.
Can't do it right. Can't get it right. Yeah, that's where we are. That's why we got to get away from all of these corporations, because they're so disconnected from their audience. They just don't understand anything anymore. And they're just pushing out garbage constantly.
Okay, I finally found what I wanted. And of course, this computer is, there we go. Hey, okay, so let's do this. Let's start with our first topic. This story just came out this morning. And I want to go over it because it will have a little bit to do with what our topic today is. But as reported this morning in Variety, is it there yet? Yeah, as reported in this morning Variety, Marvel sets Vision series for 2026 with Paul Bettany and Star Trek Picard executive producer Terry Matalas as its showrunner. Exclusive. Marvel has tapped Star Trek Picard executive producer Terry Matalas to resurrect Vision, the synthezoid played by Paul Bettany, for a new untitled Disney Plus series set for 2026. 2 years from now, Variety has learned exclusively. Bettany will return to the role, and Matalas will serve as its showrunner. After Vision died at the hands of Thanos in 2018's Avengers Infinity War, he returned twice over in 2021's WandaVision, first as the spectral creation made by his beloved Wanda Maximoff through magical powers by grief. This then as a rebuilt nuts and bolt android with a ghost white appearance and zero memory of his past life. When the two visions battled in WandaVision's finale, Wanda's vision restored the ghost's Vision's memories, that Wanda allowed her vision to fade from existence. The new show will take place after those events as Ghost Vision presumably explores the purpose in life. Let's see, yeah, and then we'll just end with this one. Marvel brought in Matalas after his work running season 3 of Star Trek Picard, which brought back the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation to widespread acclaim, garnering Matalas as a WGA award-winning award nomination for the 2023 series. Greatly impressed the top brass at Marvel. So Terry Matalas, Vision.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the future of Marvel, and in our eyes hasn't been that great. What's your impression of this? What's your impression of this story?
I mean, the first thing is, one, I just literally did a story about this, or an article or covered an article about this yesterday with Marvel rebranding everything. They're going to have Marvel Television and Marvel Animation. They're trying to separate that from Marvel Studios as the film, subset of overall Marvel Entertainment. And in my opinion, that's not going to fix anything. But what will fix Marvel is stuff like this, getting good showrunners and good story, writers to tell stories that fans would be interested in, to do it in a proper way. Now, I know Terry Matalas has done Star Trek Picard. I haven't watched Star Trek Picard. All right, but I do trust I guess I trust the opinions of those that have told me you really need to watch Star Trek Picard. Chris Gore he was hitting me up when we went to a film meetup. And he was like, "You haven't watched Star Trek Picard, bro? You need to watch Star Trek Picard. Forget the first 2 seasons. Just jump straight to season 3. You're not missing anything." And that's kind of the reason I didn't watch it in the first place, is because I heard so much bad things about season 1 and 2. I'm like, all right, well, there's no reason to watch this. But everybody that I trust has come out and said, "Oh, the one to watch," and he's the showrunner of season 3, right? He did season 3.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so to me, that's what you need to do. You need to go back to getting good filmmakers, good storytellers, good showrunners to produce content for your franchises. Marvel's been getting away with, I don't know, just random people, writing stories. People don't have the same gravitas as somebody that's done it before. They're not getting good ideas from their creatives, and their creatives are, basically letting them down. So if they can bring a guy on like Terry Matalas, and if he's good, if everybody is saying this guy is the real deal, okay, then it's going to work. I think it's going to be just fine. And this is something you can get excited for, because if you trust the work he did on Star Trek Picard, all right, then you can probably trust the work he's going to do on Vision. But when you have stuff like the writers for Morbius wrote Madam Web, and you're like, how did that happen? That's what all of these guys are doing. They're allowing people that failed once to come back and fail again. Give the wins to these guys. All right, Terry and other guys like this. Give it to these guys.
Yeah, let me just speak to. So, we covered Picard season 3 on Film Thread. That's honestly the only reason I ever watched Picard season 3, because it had good buzz behind it, and I think it was worth venturing it, because I'll tell you, I'm a massive Next Generation fan. I watched every single episode, start to finish. Deep Space Nine. This is Star Trek for me. And to have seen, as Chris Gore likes to complain about, with Han, Luke, and Leia, with Star Trek Picard season 3, they brought the entire crew back together. If you watch if you go to the Film Thread interview channel, I recently interviewed LeVar Burton, and we talked about this. We talked about what was it like to get that script and get that call from Terry Matalas and say, "Hey, we're bringing the gang back together," and he was like, he was excited because I think Marina and Jonathan were already on board, so he got on board. Terry also gave him a chance to give guidance as to where he wanted Geordi to go, and I think he did that for everyone. It's like, how do you see your character in the future, and then he wrote based on that. And the other thing that I think led to a lot of the success of Picard season 3 was freedom. Paramount just let him. For some reason, they decided, we're going to let this guy just go ahead and produce the show however he wants, and that was the result. And I can tell you, I have seen people on social media who have worked with Terry. I've talked to a friend of a friend. Excuse me for a second.
Go ahead.
I talked to a friend of a friend who has worked with Terry Matalas, and across the board, everyone said he's a great guy to work with. The onset, the writers' room. Excuse me.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I'm just getting over a cough here.
No worries.
From everyone, this what Terry does is he creates an environment that you want to work on. And that was Picard season 3. There's something about excuse me. There's something about going to work and having fun that says, "Hey, you talk for a moment."
Yeah. I get what you're saying. It's like when you bring in people that absolutely have a passion for what it is that they're doing. That's basically what it comes down to, right, folks? If you got a passion for the game and you have a passion for the franchise, these are the people that you want behind the scenes making the content. You don't want people that are Johnny come lately, tourists, first time on the job. They haven't been around before. They don't know anything about it. Like, I would be the worst person to, bring out a Star Trek
Mhm.
series because I'm not a dyed in the wool Star Trek fan. Okay, now Star Wars, I would be, the guy to consult with that. But yeah, when it comes to Star Trek, you want people that love and have an absolute passion for Star Trek, I should say. And it sounds like this guy does because he brings back the whole gang and he has the perfect plot and the perfect storyline, and that's exactly what it is that you're looking for. Versus somebody that just doesn't really, hey, it's a franchise. I can build, my resume off of this franchise. I can write some great stories. I can do whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, but are you really like going to give the fans what they want? Or are you using this as some sort of a stepping stone for your career? And I feel like a lot of Hollywood cats, that's what they're doing. They're just using these franchises as stepping stones, and they're not like tuned in to the franchise, to the fan base, to anything, to the characters, to the storylines that have come before them. They're not tuned into that stuff. They just kind of get, okay, let me read up on Wikipedia real
Mhm.
quick. All right, got it. Let's go ahead and get out.
Now, I will say on the downside. So here are the risks. One um, is that Terry's going to be he's gonna have corporate suits looking over his shoulder constantly. That's a possibility. And I, from what people have told me about him, is that that's not his game, and that
Yeah.
he wouldn't necessarily have taken this job if that was going to be the case. That there's the sense is that he wanted a level of freedom, and then it sounds like he's in a position where he can demand freedom. So I hope that's true. The other thing is, it's interesting that it's a Vision series. I don't know that we were exactly asking for a Vision series. I will say that next to Nightcrawler, I think Vision is probably my second favorite Marvel character. And but the thing is the way he's been treated, the way his character has evolved over time. Well, I would basically say after Infinity War and beyond, I've not been excited about what they did to Vision and with Vision, and realizing that what they did to Vision after that kind of veers off from what everything I loved about that character. And so I'm kind of, I'm cautiously optimistic. What are your thoughts in terms of, will this be a good series or not? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about
There you
that.
go.
My mic was a little hot. I was just trying to make some adjustments. Um, yeah, I think the main thing is, again, it's who do we trust this guy? And based on Star Trek Picard, yes, there's a little bit of trust there. He's built up some equity with the fans.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, can he undo what Marvel has done to the brand, in a short period of time with this one show and this one character? No, but it's a step in the right direction if he gets it right. Because again, I trust when we have good storytellers. Like, that's the main thing. You got to get guys that understand. They have to understand the fans. They have to understand the lore. What's gone before them. They are now standing on the shoulders of people that created this. They're not the ones creating. They're telling a story within the universe. And so the goal should be, hey, I got to get close to what the fans expect, what the original vision of the original creator was. That's the goal here. And if he can do that, I'm not a big Vision fan. Vision's okay character. I'm not a huge fan
Yeah.
of his, but I do enjoy Paul Bettany's performance of Vision. I think he does a really good job. So I hope that this can put Marvel on the right tracks. I think all of us can say we want good content from these franchises because they mean a lot to us. We grew up on this stuff. And we would love to get more great storytelling coming from these franchises, but you need the right people involved. And sometimes Kevin Feige, I mean, it's literally like the roll of the dice whether or not he's gonna produce something good. And most of the time, it comes up craps. All right, it just comes up snake eyes on most of his projects lately. And it's like, okay, are you going to start bringing in some real quality storytellers? Bob Iger, quality over quantity. He's been saying that lately. All right, are you going to finally do it? Because we've been hearing this, Bob, for the last 3 to 4 years, and we haven't seen any quality. We've been getting a lot of quantity. We've been getting a whole lot of quantity, even though you said you're going to slow down on that. But we're not getting the quality that we expect. So let's see that. All right. Let's start to get some quality coming out of these properties that mean everything to us as fans. And the main thing is, and this is what I want to end it on, these franchises, Disney may own it, but it belongs to us because we're the ones that put the energy and the enthusiasm into building these franchises into what they were. Marvel, DC, Star Wars, whatever, Star Trek. The fans built this. It's not just, okay, yeah, you got a creator that created it, but the fans poured their love, their passion, their excitement, their enthusiasm into it. And so we need these studios to start paying attention to that because as you can see, if you don't give us what we're looking for, we're checking out. We outro. All right, we're gone. We're not coming back either. It's going to be really hard for them to get a lot of the fans base back after what they've done to some of these franchises.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what Iger says when we keep bringing up IP mining because that's a term he's coined now.
Yeah,
but you're right in the sense that it is ours. It is for the fans because we're the ones who really ultimately paid for it. You know, they may have put the money up front, but we're the ones who are shelling out the cash to see these movies, and to buy the merch. And that's what Disney has long lost is this
they
idea
forgot all about that.
Yeah, they forgot that the fans are the ones who are primary here. You know, the fact that you could take Doctor Who, basically tell all the fans of Doctor Who to go kick rocks, and then like, just make a show for and then make a gay show out of it. You know, I mean, that's Doctor Who. It's a LGBT gay show, which is fine. You know, if you want to hit that niche, hit that niche. And good luck. I hope you make money. All right.
But you know what? Let me say this too. When it comes to who is behind the scenes, you know, the situation with X-Men 97 is such a perfect example of we just want good storytelling. Bo DeMayo is a person of color, LGBTQ, and everybody loves X-Men 97. It literally does what we want them to do. And we don't really care who this guy is. We don't care what his ideology is, his lifestyle is. We could care less. We care about the franchise that you're behind. And so it should go to show that all we want is the good stories. That's all we care about. If you do it right, we're on board. And we don't give a damn who you are and what your lifestyle is or who you like to sleep with, or we don't care about any of that. What we care about is, hey, you're doing right by the franchise. You're giving us the goods, and that's what matters. And so all of that stuff aside, if Disney and Disney is really the main culprit, you know, everybody else is kind of starting to figure this thing out. Disney's slow on the game. If they figure out, hey, we just need to give the fans what they're asking for, I think everything's going to get a whole lot better. And then they can have all of the people, whoever is behind the scenes making it, we won't care as long as the content is good. Because I don't really care what you do in your life, in your personal life. I don't care, you know, but I care what you're doing with my franchise right here in front of me. I care about that. So get that right, and then, you know, live your life, whatever.
It's always about story. All right, let's go to your chat. Let's go to the chats and your comments. From Chris, Terry Matalas is the man for Picard Season 3. I mean, I'll always say it, Picard Season 3, that's going to be the last good Star Trek you're going to see for a very long time. From Slim Jim 491, somehow Vision returned. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you may not have cared about Vision much, but he's you know, like I said, a lot. Him and Nightcrawler were my early favorites from the Avengers and X-Men, and I just, you know, as much as I like the character, I don't like what they did to him after Infinity War. From Sean Z, Paul is a great actor, but I'm not the biggest Vision guy, and that's the other thing is, you know, I mean, for the most part, Vision is just a humanized version of Jarvis, and the story of Vision himself has not been properly told at all in the MCU. From Batmanual, except for the love story with Scarlet Witch, a Vision series where they use it to make Scarlet Witch sympathetic. I would imagine that Scarlet Witch is going to play a big role somehow in the Vision series. From D Goodhart, holy crap, hadn't heard about Matalas. That's actually good news. Yeah, this is the only good news I've heard from Marvel in a very long time, and it's still cautiously optimistic. Leo Cody says, Alan, never a good idea to run a show with dial-up internet. Yeah, I know. Fortunately, I have stacks of AOL free minutes, and so that's how I'm doing the show. All right. From Chelsea, my mom has been hoarding. We went through my mom's stuff, and I literally found stacks and stacks of CompuServe and AOL 3-minute disc. From
That
Chelsea
takes
M.
me all the way back, man. That
I
takes me
know.
back.
I
Everybody
know.
had to have one of them CDs with the free minutes on there, man, or the
Oh, yeah.
cards as well.
Hey, I wrote a whole paper for my master's degree using Prodigy. So from Chelsea M, why is Paul Bettany still a part of the MCU? He's too good of an actor for that. I'm pretty sure money has a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I just saw the Jim Henson documentary, and his wife is in it. Jennifer Connelly, who did Labyrinth.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Rumble. ADL's 24. She was 14 when she did Labyrinth. Can you believe that? From ADLS, so Terry Matalas is being punished for making the last great series of Star Trek by being put on an MCU show. I know. Poor guy. All right, from Killick69, it won't work. It still has to go through the studio committee notes. Yeah, exactly. Freedom is the key here, and
Yeah,
how
like you
much freedom.
said, Paramount let him do whatever he wanted to do. Does
Yeah.
Feige do the same? That's the question.
Well, I mean, we'll say this. Apparently, Feige gave a lot of freedom to Ryan Reynolds and I forgot the director's name to do Deadpool and Wolverine. So
Oh, yeah.
maybe because there's clear these three guys, Terry Matalas and Ryan Reynolds and the director, they have a proven track record. You can quibble all you want about Deadpool 2. It's still made money, and it's still a pretty good movie. So there's a track record, and there's quality behind their work. Unfortunately, I don't know who in Hollywood is training the next generation of storytellers, but they're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
Okay. From Neil, how did good work on? He did good work on 12 Monkeys TV show. Yes.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Bill S. Preston Esquire. Matalas did well with Picard season 3. Not sure he knows about the Avengers and Marvel, but this could be good. Unfortunately, still Disney. Yep. I mean, everyone's cautiously optimistic. I'm pretty sure he has a background in the Avengers and Marvel. From Red French Moon. Also, Matalas showed with Picard that he could salvage bad writing salvage bad writing of previous season. I will say, in my opinion, WandaVision was the more solid Marvel show overall, so Matalas could do stuff with it. I mean, definitely, I would say the first 4 episodes of WandaVision presented something that was interesting, something different, and there was a story there. But there was it was that exploration between the relationship between Wanda and Vision, and then it turned into a Marvel
it
show.
didn't stick the
after that.
landing at all. It just didn't stick the landing, and that was the problem with the I think first 5 episodes I was pretty into WandaVision, and then as those final 4 episodes unfolded, it was like, what happened here? What happened here? Some decisions were made that I don't think they thought through all the way.
I mean, let's see. I don't know if you're familiar with House of M. I'm barely familiar with it, but it seemed like that was the idea they were going behind,
right?
With Wanda controlling a city like that, where she was controlling the entire universe at one point. From Juan Biscuits, there ain't no substitution for passion. That's true. Chris, what he is saying is right 90% of the time. The big exception is RTD ruining Doctor Who right now. That's right. Davina Duckworth, showrunners don't need to be fans, but they do need to respect the lore. Yeah, and it's...
You know what? I agree with that. I said earlier I would like a showrunner that's a fan, but that's a good point. Is that as long as you have a respect, you might not understand like the ins and outs of the lore, but you got to respect the lore. You got to respect where this came from and what it meant to people that watched it. So yeah, I agree with that, Davina. That's a good point.
Okay, and then let's see. I'm going to save Paulie's comment here for later. But yeah, let's see. The thing I was thinking about for a second there, and I forgot. I had a great thought, and then Paulie just super chats, and then I missed it. So Paulie super chat again. All right, so let's move on. We'll clear the deck here, and let's see. I'm hitting buttons. Chris loves it when I narrate what I'm doing as I'm saying it.
Stop obsessing about race, you stupid, midget-minded moron.
All right, we're going to transition to our next topic, and I know how to do this. And we're going to talk about so Furiosa is coming out this week, and Chris and I have both seen it, and we'll talk about it. Whoops, I want to hit. Sorry, this button here. All right, we're going to talk about Furiosa. Chris and I have seen it. If you watched last week's Hollywood on the Rocks, you saw a review of it. We're going to go into spoiler reviews on Friday and include your comments, as most of you hopefully will have seen it. But the topic of today is the end of the girl boss. And after watching Furiosa, we came to the conclusion that that maybe the girl boss, maybe people are figuring out the problem with the girl boss, and that maybe Furiosa is the solution, and that we're finally seeing a female character who is rightfully representative as that strong female character. So the question I have for you, Derek, is how did we get here? Where did this idea of the girl boss come from? How do you define girl boss?
That's a good question. I would say the first step, we saw great female protagonists that were also tough and action oriented with obviously the main two that come to mind where everybody will say is Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. And I think everybody tried to shortcut those two characters and just go straight to girl boss mode. But you remember, like the most, I talk to people about this all the time. The most iconic versions of those two characters are in the sequels. All right, they're in the two sequels, Aliens and Terminator 2. Those are the ones that everybody kind of remembers. But they started out in earlier films and they were brought in for the sequels. Okay, so in Alien, Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley, she's fine. I'm not saying she's not a good character, but she's kind of like plays the last girl. She's surviving. She's not on the attack. She's not trying to, she's more or less in survival mode for most of that as the alien is walking around the spaceship picking off her and all of her peoples. And then she comes to life at the end and, kind of, gets herself right. And then the same thing with Sarah Connor, the first Terminator, she's more or less a damsel in distress. And now in Terminator 2, she's taking up, the gun. She's got to protect John Connor. She's got to make sure he survives, So there was a version of these two characters that weren't the girl bosses. You know what I mean? And they had to build into that. So we got to see them vulnerable. We got to see them in like not a tough, state. We got to see them more or less vulnerable. And nevertheless, even with all that being said, they still retained their femininity, in the second films. They retained who they were as women. Sigourney Weaver, especially as Ellen Ripley, the mother, kind of arc, the arc that she went on was more of a mother's arc because of what happened to her when she was in cryosleep. I'm not going to go into that, but we saw her as a woman and she was still feminine. She's flirting with Hicks, she's doing all of that kind of stuff. And the same thing with Sarah Connor, she had to, take on more of a motherly mantle as well to protect John. Again, we get the feminine qualities of these folks without seeing them just being like total butch babe, like Vasquez and Aliens, with the shaved head and the bandana and all of that kind of crap. Like that's how a modern audience or a modern writer would have wrote Ripley in the second film. They would have just had her go straight to Vasquez mode, instead of actually, showing her growth as a woman. So I think that's where it started. They tried to shortcut all of that, the actual story and the character development of those two characters. And let's just go straight to, hardcore female protagonists. Don't take no lip from no man. You don't have to do that. And then a lot of feminism that's come along the way, over the past 20 years or whatever has led into this girl boss era. And I think that's the biggest problem is that, they're taking away, a woman's femininity. We're all in this world, men, women, we understand each other on a certain level. And, if you try to go against the grain with that, and you try to give us a character that's not really a woman. She's kind of like a guy. It's like the character's literally a guy with a wig and boobs. You know, like that's really what they're giving us in a lot of these girl boss characters. When you do that, you know, you lose the audience. You know, you lose your
Yeah.
audience. You lose
Well,
people.
you
Go ahead.
also destroy storytelling. I'll give you an example. I think the first time we talked about this, that this idea of the girl boss came about, was Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is interesting
Yeah.
because, you know, it's right in the middle of Infinity War and Endgame, where Marvel at this point could do no wrong, and then
Yeah.
Captain Marvel comes out kind of as a response to Wonder Woman from DC. But you know, Captain Marvel did very well at the box office. It just flew like gangbusters, and I believe a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was riding on this wave that Marvel and the MCU had built up into this point in time.
Sure.
But the problem with Captain Marvel, and I think a lot of us realized it, you know, down the road, was the fact that she was a character basically who had no fatal flaw, which is fundamental in good storytelling. You need a character who has a weakness, and where
Yeah.
the antagonist exploits that weakness, and that the protagonist now has to overcome that weakness in order to defeat the antagonist. And that represents everyone, because we in life, we are imperfect people. We encounter obstacles constantly in life, and it is our ability to overcome these obstacles, this adversity in life, that makes us a better and stronger human being over time. But the problem was with Captain Marvel is she was perfect.
Yep.
She had no fatal flaw. She had no imperfection, and what the antagonist did was it veiled her eyes from her true potential. So it's a woman who had potential, but was having
Yeah.
her potential suppressed, and then by the end, when the veil was lifted, she became who she was. So she never really grew throughout the entire
Yeah.
thing.
There's no
And
growth.
yeah, and you know, we could go into the feminism aspect of that, in terms of, you know, that she don't need no man to help her out. No, she had it all along. And but but I think that's where you saw the flaw in the way women were being written, especially as lead characters, and that this idea of the girl boss carries itself throughout. And I would also speak to supporting characters now, that you have the male with the who needs help, and then the female who comes along, who knows everything. You know, can shoot a gun perfectly, knows how to strike a man in the right spot to subdue him,
Oh yeah.
and you know,
Yeah.
and it's like,
You remember
oh, go ahead.
Ray
Mhm.
from The Force Awakens
Yeah, I
going on to
remember
Han
her.
Solo's ship and telling Han Solo, "Oh, this is what's what," and she's running the show there, and I was like, "How are you coming in and telling
I
Han Solo
bypassed the
about his
compressor.
ship?" Right? Yeah, I bypassed the compressor. Why didn't you do that, Han? You know, it's like, come on, guys. And again, that's what it is. They're skipping steps. They're not giving us the
Hmm.
opportunity to watch these characters develop, watch these women, you know, develop into who they became or whatever. We're just supposed to accept it. We don't accept that from male characters either. Those are boring characters when you don't see
Yeah,
development. They're
yeah,
just a
yeah.
tough.
There's no boy
Yeah,
boss. I mean,
right.
well, there are
Well, there
boy
are, but
bosses,
they're
but they run into the same problem from a storytelling standpoint.
exactly.
I think look, people are gonna crap on me for this one, but I'll say it. I think the worst boy boss is Superman. Superman is
Mm.
perfect. He has superpower. In fact, they had to invent a weakness. They had to, you know, ironically, his kryptonite was kryptonite. You know, you know, and that was the problem DC had. That if you've heard stories of Stan Lee, you know, it was just the fact that Superman was perfect. The superheroes in DC early on were just super. They were perfect. They were heroic.
They're gods.
They were gods, and they busted it, and they did it. And so what Stan did with Marvel was to take characters that had a flaw, and then the power wasn't necessarily a gift, but it was also a
Yeah,
burden. For
they're
example, the
cursed.
Hulk.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Hulk became the Hulk because of his anger and his rage. You know, that's the imperfect character. Spider-Man was a high school teenager who became a superhero, but had to hide the fact that he was the whole alter ego, and then the whole death of his uncle. You know, there are little nuances here that are brought into these characters that make them imperfect, And that allows us, because we are imperfect people, to relate to those characters, and why it's so why it's so difficult to relate to Superman or relate to Captain Marvel.
Well, what you got to do in those characters is you got to give Superman a problem that his muscles cannot solve. You got to give him
Mhm.
stuff to do that's going to really challenge, even though you have this godlike being, like, okay, but are you smarter than Brainiac? Can you outwit these more intelligent characters? You can't just punch your way through this. And
Mhm.
that's what they have to do with some of these girl bosses. It's like they have these girl bosses, they have no flaws. Okay, the flaw ends up being themselves, like you were saying. Same thing was with Ray. The power was in you all along. You just had to discover it. It was men that were
Yeah.
holding you back. Like that kind of nonsense. That's the reason why the girl boss film and the idea behind it just doesn't hit with people. Because a lot of people, they'll see this amazing, female character on screen. And well, how is she ever going to lose? Like everything's just handed to her. And that's just the most boring, inference of a character I've ever heard of. It's nothing that's relatable because, like you said, we all have, problems that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And when we watch a story or read a story or watch a television program, we want to see how these characters are going to navigate through their problems to get to what it is that they want to achieve. Usually, like you were saying about, the protagonist, usually he has a flaw. And that flaw is directly related to a need that he hasn't dealt with or he needs to deal with. And once he finally overcomes the flaw, then he can see his way through to getting, accomplishing what it is that he needs to accomplish. It's like literally not a perfect example, but Indiana Jones had to go through the well of the souls to find the Ark of the Covenant, right? He wants the Ark of the Covenant, but he's got to face his fear of snakes. All right. And that was the fear that would have held him back normally, but he sees a greater goal and he has to fight his way through that. In that little microcosm, that's kind of what all characters need to do. They need to face their fears, overcome those fears, and then move on to the next thing. And so, yeah, they don't do that with girl bosses. Girl bosses are just awesome. They're just awesome with a capital A right off rip. And there's nothing that can take them down. And the only thing that's going to stop them is, some man, usually a man. It's rare that you see a female antagonist in these situations because they don't want a woman to look bad. So it's all right. Well, we got to have a male antagonist. I was actually surprised that the Marvels put a female villain in there. But then they even made her kind of sympathetic. So then you get these sympathetic villains.
Yeah.
And it's just trash, man.
Villains are not villains.
Yeah, they're not villains
especially
anymore, So, yeah, I mean, it's always done at the expense of male characters. They'll do this stuff and then they'll make the men around them stupid, incompetent, or whatever. And it's like, come on. Like, who wants to watch that? Especially if you're putting this in an action setting with an adventure film or a comic book film or sci-fi where it's primarily guys watching it anyway. I don't get it. I don't understand why they went down that road. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, it's finally coming to an end. Thank goodness.
Yeah. The other thing that comes to mind is the fact that just by having this discussion, we are potentially setting ourselves up to become viral and to have people just basically say, well, Derek and Alan, they're misogynists because they don't want to see a strong woman on screen. And, it's the, I mean, how do you, I mean, what do you think about that idea of what made it so that we can't even talk about it or that we shouldn't even be talking about this subject?
Well, because you're speaking against what is currently out there as the message. The message is that girls get it done and they can do everything a man can do in high heels and all that crap. And it's not true. I mean, I'm not saying that, some women out there can't achieve what it is that they want to achieve, but men and women are fundamentally different. And to try to paint this picture that they're exactly the same is one of the major issues that's going on right now, just in society at large. It's like we have lived experiences, folks. I don't know if Hollywood is aware of this, but we walk amongst normal people out here. All right. We're not walking around Hollywood's bubble where everybody thinks the same way. No, we have real lived experiences where we come across women and we come across men and we know what life is really like. And you guys are trying to push us all in a box to say you need to believe this way, but the world doesn't react that way. Especially doesn't react that way outside of this country. You go to other countries, they're like, "What is this? This doesn't make any sense to me." This is insane. But in this country, we try to I don't know, put a nice appealing look on this whole concept that women are just as capable of men of doing a lot of different things, almost just they're the exact same. And there's some things that women can do. I'm not saying that there isn't. Obviously,
Well,
there's some things that women can do and men and everything, and there's a lot of equality when it comes to that. But what they try to portray in films a lot of times, it's just like, come on, guys, have like a a 5'1", 105-pound woman just kicking some guy's ass. It's like, yo, you really expect me to believe this? I don't care how much.
Yeah, we'll get to Furiosa in a moment.
Oh, okay. That's what I see. I haven't watched Furiosa, so I don't know if that's what's happening. But
yeah,
that's a big issue.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a moment. But for me, the problem I have with this discourse that we're on is the idea that there are differences between men and women. Common sense tells us that. Science tells us that. Centuries of psychology and biology and anatomy have told us that there are differences between men and women, and the idea that one is better than the other or vice versa goes against the fact that maybe there's a grander design that said maybe these differences were meant to be complementary of one another, that they were meant to work together rather than us being the same person at the same time.
But what do they push?
We should be celebrating our differences. That's
like going back to Ripley and her mothering instincts when it came to that film and her relationship with Newt and going to save her at the end and everything that was happening in that film. Again, it comes off differently. These are the values that they don't want people, I guess, to focus on when it comes to women. It's like, yo, this motherly instinct is very important. It's valuable in society. It's not something to just wash away. It's not important. It's important that she can kick the alien queen's ass. That's important. But it's like, but being a mother to Newt is just as important. In a lot of places, even more important. Not every little girl is going to run into the alien queen trying to kill her and lay eggs in her mouth, but every little girl needs a mom. And so it's like, why are we trying to push away this idea that this motherly, but that's what we're seeing around now with this girl boss stuff, and a lot of women out there is, I don't need to have a husband. I don't need a family and kids and all that. But then 9 times out of 10 towards the end of their lives, they're all like, man, I wish I had a kid. I wish I had a family or this or that. They have that instinct that's in them. And that's been built up through, again, millennia of society living a certain way. And now everybody just wants to go against the grain. And I'm like, I don't get it. Okay, there's a way that the world has been built with society. Societies are built from families and civilizations are built from. It's like, this is the way the human race works. This is the way humanity works. And as long as you push against that, and you try to go in a completely different direction, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have failures. I mean, we saw how many girl boss failures lately, with Madam Web and what was the other one? Marvel. The Marvels failed. You had Birds of Prey, all in the comic book genre. All of them failed. Why? Because they're not good movies. First of all, they weren't written well. But they tried to push this agenda, and I think people are just turned off from it. They're not even going to give it a chance at this point. It's like, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I want to say thank you to all the 3,300 people watching us on YouTube and X and Rumble. I appreciate you being here. Let me. Okay, and then be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification, all that other stuff. Lick the like button. But here's the other thing is that has bothered me is this idea of toxic masculinity. There are certain traits of men that have been deemed toxic, but at the same time, the new modern strong woman, they're portraying these aspects of toxic masculinity. But for some reason, it's not toxic when females do it. It just seems like that the new strong woman is they exhibit traits that you would associate with men, which I find ironic.
Yeah, well, again, that's why you see it in the films where I said you have this female character that doesn't exude any femininity at all. It's all masculinity. So it's like, we have these masculine women characters, but they're just men. They're not women. If you had a girl, like I say, if you have a movie or a story with a character and she's she's the lead protagonist, but she is a woman and she comes off as a woman, it can work. All right. You don't even what was the one with Julia Roberts? Why am I drawing a blank on that? Where she's the lawyer, or she's not a lawyer. She's but she's Erin Brockovich. Okay,
Oh, that's
Erin
right.
Brockovich. She's a girl boss in that. All right, not the girl boss of today, but the girl boss of then. You know, she takes charge, she's in control, and she's totally feminine. She's a woman, and she looks and acts like a woman, but she's also, you know, a boss. I don't think she was a real lawyer. I think she kind of learned law or whatever. I can't remember the exact details, but she walks in and she takes care of business in every scene, and and we all love that movie. That movie's a great movie. But why does that work and all of this other crap doesn't? It's because it's realistic, and she's a woman, and she's not, you know, trying to usurp a man. She's trying to come in and say, hey, this is the truth of this situation, and I'm bringing it to the table. And, you know, we just look at it as, hey, this is a great character. This is a great character. It's on a mission. And again, she embraced her femininity, and she used it to her advantage in that film, and it was awesome. You know,
Well,
so why can't we get that?
It also helps that Erin Brockovich was a real person.
And that's but that part is still, I mean, but still, if they were writing Erin Brockovich today, they would probably have her as a ski bald head woman, you know, wearing business suits everywhere, and you know, there would have been any femininity. Julia Roberts still was able to bring out some feminine qualities. That's what I mean. It's, you know, the feminine versus this masculine, like, you know, the girls are exuding this toxic masculinity, like you said, and it's just kind of like, I don't know why they make these choices. You know, show us women as they are, not as what you may want them to be.
Yeah.
And then
and that's the thing that goes back to woke, the basic definition of woke. It's this idea that we are defined by our oppression, and that we need to identify these microaggressions and these impressions in our oppressors. You know, and so for women, it's men do this, men do that. These are microaggressions for men, and we can't find the nuance about it. We can't have a discussion about it. You know, the idea that men and women are different, we can't have that discussion today, and that's the biggest problem. Because once you start having that discussion, I think you feel like that you're giving up ground on what feminism had brought us to this point, and you know, and that's why you have to hold fast to certain things, and you can't recognize the nuance. And this is the problem where we're going. And so here, before we get to this Furiosa, let's get to our chat here, our comments from Latino Slam for $5. Alan, there's nothing perfect about Furiosa. Put down the meth and seek help. Oh, hey, DA. All right.
What's up, Paulie?
All right. From Neil, here's the thing. I don't mind female-led series, Blue Eye, sorry, I'm hitting buttons here. Blue Eye Samurai, Arcane, Buffy, etc. The problem is always with the writing.
Yep.
From Lawrence Gillespie, Girl Boss, write the most annoying macho man character, then make that character a woman.
Exactly.
Keep reminding, As Good as It Gets. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
How do I write a woman? I think of a man, then I take away, what was it, reason and accountability.
Yeah. All right. From Diavina Duckworth, a female protagonist who has no arc. Perfect at the beginning, middle, and end. Who has masculine traits? That's right. That's exactly what we're saying. Good summation. Bush and Meerkat. Oh no! Don't say the girl boss era is over. I need Jennifer Lopez to star in the Bee Queen movie. Ah, yes. Yeah, I mean, look, Taylor Swift is about to join the X-Men. So,
oh man, I heard that. Ooh,
Yep,
that's gonna be ugly, man. The Swifties in the MCU. But see, you know what? I think that's the move. You know, you want to get that Swiftie money. You want to get all of that Swiftie love coming to the MCU, because whatever she shows up in, the Swifties will be there. And so I think that's the main thing. Yeah, it's not a move that I would do, but it's a money move, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint.
Look, if I were to create a traditional superhero movie, one that was ostensibly good, but I wanted to reach a female audience with it, I'd put Taylor Swift in it.
Absolutely.
All right, Joseph, Trinity is in Matrix is a strong female character. That's right. Yeah, and she had a journey she went on, which we could all relate to. That's the important part. For Lawrence Gillespie, take a Steven Seagal movie and make his character a woman. Getting there. We're getting there. Singing Gamer. The worst part is to have a girl boss. You need to surround her with weak men to make her seem stronger.
Exactly. You got to come at the expense of the male characters. All the male characters have to be absolute idiots. And that's the thing that I dislike. That's why I said the thing with Han Solo. It's like Han Solo knows his ship better than Rey. I don't care if he ain't seen that ship in 20 years. He knows the ship better than Rey, who thought it was just a piece of garbage. And all of a sudden, oh, look what I'm doing. And I'm like, come on, guys. This is insane.
Yeah. I mean, when I went to the D-Files and talked about Raya and the Last Dragon, you know, there were initial stories. And then when they ousted Lasseter and then brought in a new team to kind of write it, you know, there were definite discussions of no man in this movie can help her. There's the men in the role are greatly diminished. They're either in that movie they're old or they're young, but there was no strong man that defended her or that helped her along the way, because you can't have that.
And see, that stuff sticks out like a sore thumb because that's not our day-to-day experience in real life. And it just stands out. When you see stuff like that in a film or any story, it just stands out because it's like, that's unrealistic. All of these guys around them and they're all pathetic and useless. Like, nah.
Yeah. Well, anytime you've ever needed help in your life, it didn't matter what the gender or what the skin color of that person was. You just needed help.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, you just want someone competent to help you. That's the only
exactly.
key there. Patrick Lemire, Captain Marvel's box office was cooked with fake sales. Billion Dollar movie don't have that many empty theaters in week 2. Okay, so I don't know the numbers exactly on that one, so I'll take your word for it. Dark Hierophant, Battlestar Galactica in the 2000s has Starbuck. That was the best fighter pilot yet, has flaws and times of femininity. A well-rounded heroine. Yeah, I remember that was a big discussion when Starbuck was gender swapped.
Yep.
And it sounds like, I didn't watch the series, so it sounds like they treated the character well, or at least they developed a character well in Starbuck at the end. Bruce Gilbert, the hero's journey is realizing you were perfect all along and men were holding you back. Yep.
Bingo.
That's unfortunately that's the story of girl bosses today. Cast again, Ray bypassed the patriarchy. I bypassed the patriarchy.
That's dope. I like that one.
All right, Crystal Nolan for $4.99. Thank you so much for that, for your support. Oliver Lavery Farag for £10. I wish Brie Larson had done Captain Marvel at a time when the girl boss was less fashionable with studios, because the last time she did female vulnerability, it literally won her an Oscar. I forgot the name of that. I know she played an interesting mother in that one. And I think was it Captain Marvel? I feel like Captain Marvel was the first girl boss. I mean, let's be real. The change happened with Harvey Weinstein and Me Too.
Yeah, that's really what it was.
Yeah, and the pendulum swung far and swung
too
wide,
hard, man.
Too hard, and now it's coming back. All right, and then from Crystal Nolan for $19.99. Thank you, Celine from Underworld was the greatest girl boss while not being a girl boss. She was in the elites while not being of the elites. A warrior, not a politician, standing by her principles and values no matter what. Sounds like Princess Leia to me. All right. Yep. Let's continue on. Now let's get into Furiosa.
All right, Furiosa. I haven't watched it. No spoilers.
Yeah, well, no spoilers, but you've seen Fury Road, right?
Yeah, I've seen Fury Road, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this. So I've seen the movie. I'll tell you what I think about it, but let me ask you this. When you first saw the first trailer for Furiosa, and in the context of Girl Boss, what was your feelings about the character Furiosa and Anya Taylor-Joy playing her?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like this was going to be, it did feel like it was going to be the prototypical girl boss can do anything kind of movie. I haven't seen it obviously, but it felt that way. And I thought, my first thoughts were, this is unnecessary. I don't need this. So I was kind of curious as to why they were making this movie. And then I started thinking, yeah, it's probably got something to do with, hey, we're going to have a female protagonist in the Mad Max series for the first time. We want to do Furiosa. So I don't know. I'm not sold on the fact that this is a film that is, necessary, because I've heard nothing but good things about it. Everything that I've heard is good. So I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. But it feels like this was a push to just push a female protagonist in Mad Max. It's the Mad Max saga instead of just having her own thing. It's like, I don't know if this character stands alone outside of the Mad Max universe. Like, would I go and see a film like this if it didn't connect to the Mad Max saga in some way? I don't know, so,
Yeah.
but that's
What
kind of
did
what
you
my
think?
initial thoughts were.
What did you think of Furiosa, Charlize Theron in Fury Road?
I loved
What
her.
did you think of that
Oh,
character?
I love the original, the first Mad Max Fury Road. I loved it. And I thought it was, I thought it was, I don't know, I haven't seen it in like a couple of years, but I thought it was well done. I thought the character was well developed at that point. I didn't really need any more of her, I guess. I was just kind of like, okay, good character, good movie. Enjoyed the ride, and that was it. I didn't really think there was any room for more of a story, but I guess now you're telling the prequel to that. So, okay. But yeah, I wasn't really into I didn't think this character really needed more development or more of a story. And so that's why I felt like, is this just more them trying to get a girl boss character pushed into the, mainstream? We're going to use this character Furiosa as that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I found it interesting. In terms of the girl boss, and I'll just say this, since not many have seen it, I'll try to do this without much spoilers. But
Okay.
I think, I think this is, I think George Miller did a really good job with Furiosa. I mentioned it before. I think this is the almost the perfect prequel in terms of. I think he even did a better job as the Fury Road prequel than maybe George Lucas did with his prequels. Having said that, I'll also say this movie is too damn long. So basically the story starts where Furiosa is in the green, where there's water, there's greenery, there's fruit. It's kind of like Eden in the middle of hell. And because when you see Fury Road, that's where she wants to go. She wants to go back home. And this is that story where Furiosa is taken out of that world, and she
Okay.
spends her entire life trying to get back home. And like, spoilers only in the sense that we've seen Fury Road and we know where this is going. That is her journey to go back home. And while Fury Road is probably more equally a Mad Max and Furiosa story. And this one just sets that up, and it's just about a girl who is taken away, enslaved, being set up for bigger things, and in the process, she has this desire to go home, back to Eden, back to the green, and has to figure out a way to do that, and A, learn how to survive, and B, learn how to fight. And
Okay.
in the middle of the movie, there's she runs into I forget his name, but a man who I believe there's some kind of romantic intention there, but he basically teaches her how to survive. He teaches her how to shoot a gun, how to live the life of a driver on the road in this world, and
Okay.
so there is, I think where the girl boss ends here is the sense that there is a complete arc in the sense of where she starts as a little girl who is basically caged for most of the beginning of her life to the point where she is now Furiosa at the end, the
Gotcha.
gun-toting, one-armed one-armed woman. I'll say this: there's probably one moment of girl bossiness, which would be, she loses her arm. We see how she loses her arm, and she miraculously creates a prosthetic arm on her own with one hand that
Oh,
works
wow.
perfectly, and it has, the way she's able to take her mechanical hand and wipe wipe the hair out of her eyes. I'm like, wow, that's pretty damn good. But
Oh, that's too much.
but other than that, it's like, you know, you see certain things like how she fights. You know, you're not going to see a lot of her having hand-to-hand combat with more than one man, or one man for that matter. You know, you're going to
Okay.
see that that she does her best at a distance. You know, she has a gun. She knows how to shoot a gun. You know, she can drive a car. She knows how to kill men with cars. You know, that's
Okay.
kind of, you know,
But
that's where
it's
the
what you're
realism.
saying, and I'm here. If I'm hearing correctly, it's believable, you know, for a woman in this setting. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's all we ask for, as you know, hey, don't go too over the top and
Hmm.
too, you know, fantastically with this. You know, just keep it grounded somewhat, you know, in this era of girl bosses where girls get it done all the time. Okay, can we add a little bit more realism to it? You know, because again, it takes me completely out of the story when I see a 110-pound woman, you know, just absolutely mopping the floor with some guy that's 260. You know, knowing
Yeah.
damn well that would never happen in real life. And so, is this woman does she have superpowers or something? Is she from Krypton, or is she just, you
Yeah.
know, no, she's well trained? I don't care if she's well trained. That makes
Yeah.
no sense. You
Well,
know?
the other thing is like, you know, she doesn't magically know the answer to get out of every situation, which is, I
Okay.
think, the, you know, when I look at Star Wars, that's what I see as the girl bossiness, where the characters just know what to do next, where the choreography, the fight choreography, feels like fight choreography, where, you know,
Yeah.
it's more about the dance and the movement of the fight as opposed to how am I going to subdue my opponent. You know,
Right.
what do I need to
Right.
do? Do I need to take their legs out? Do I need to get them on the ground? You know, do I need to punch them or strike them with a wrench just because you know, they're able to withstand my punches? You know, those are the things that you know. It's like in Iron Claw. There's a moment where um, one of the brothers tells the other, you know, every move, your moves have to mean something. You know, yeah, this is
Yeah.
fake fighting, but you know, when you punch me in the face, it's got to mean something. You have to be doing that for a reason. When you put me in an arm bar, there has to be a reason for that. And
Yeah.
you know, and there's, you know, what's good about fighting is it's half fight and half luck. You know, you can be an accomplished fighter, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you got to get lucky at times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real, man. Real talk. Yeah, I just think that's where a lot of this stuff falls apart. It's just, again, we see the experiences in the real world and what we see on film. And again, I understand it's not real, it's fake, it's, you know, written, but you know, it still has to have some air of believability in order for it to work. And if it doesn't have that, then, you know, people are just checking out. You've already taken me out of the movie as soon as you show me a 110-pound woman destroying some guy that's twice her size. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
I'm already out, and I can't really believe what's happening here, you know. So, and that's the major issue with a lot of these girl boss, especially when it comes to the action stuff. And then, like you mentioned in Star Wars, when it comes to just knowing every answer, and then everybody around her is just, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, you're so amazing! I can't believe you understood. And it's like, yeah, but you know, in reality, like a lot of other people would have probably had that answer as well, or she would have said, oh, I don't know, let me go and look that up, or let me ask somebody. You know, it's like they never need any help. You know, the Mary Sue never needs anybody's help, and she does everything perfectly. You know, I
Yeah.
think that's the major issue with the girl boss is the Mary Sue girl bosses. You know,
Hmm.
if you're a girl boss, but you've earned it and you have some, and there's some,
Yeah.
you know, believability to it, okay. But if you're just, oh, she's just perfect, you know, she's just been given this stuff and nobody knows why, and it's not, the story never set that up. All right. Again, I'm out of the story. You've taken me out because
Yeah.
I'm seeing something that I just don't believe.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
when she starts doing the girl boss things, this is after
is it
years of
believable?
mentorship. It's
It's
believable.
believable.
I think
Okay.
I believe so. You know, I couch it by saying, because I haven't seen it in a long time, that it feels like it's believable. And you know, it's one of those. You know, we've been seeing so many girl boss stories that when we finally see something go against it, it. I think we say it's better than it really is. I'm pretty
Mm.
confident that we're gonna like it. But like I said, go out and see it tomorrow. Let's talk about it Friday morning. Um, because I think there's, you know, I'll say this: the most interesting part is how she loses her arm, and
Okay.
I'll say this: no girl boss would ever lose her arm that way. you just can't write it that way. That's the thing.
Yeah. That was one of the problems with Rey Skywalker, Rey Palpatine. She never lost an arm. Like, yo, you ain't a Skywalker until you get your arm cut off or a hand or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, lose something. But nope, she can't.
I know.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's the point. For her to call herself Rey Skywalker, she should have just cut off her arm, and then we would believe that she was Skywalker.
That would have been awesome right there at the end. You know, they say, "What's your name, Rey?" And then she just lights the sky. Skywalker.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Heroes today have had a major traumatic event like that, losing your arm. That we'll start at that's the base level for a hero. You got to have experienced something traumatic in your life.
Right.
All right. Let's go to your comments from Solomon Thornton. Fury Road is great, but Road Warrior is better in my opinion. I mean, I'll say that from an action standpoint, Road Warrior is better. I prefer practical far more than CG. The action in this looks really good. The blending of CG and action. There are a lot of vehicles and cars in it, but there's also a lot of CG in it. And I get it. There are some shots in this movie that you have to do CG because, again, you don't want to actually kill people when you make a movie. All right. From Joseph, Fury Road was a good George Miller film. That guy knows how to put a budget up on the screen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got a lot more money with this one too. Touching grass with my cold dead hands. As soon as verse is attached, I'm out. No more universe. Tried to make a single good movie. Yeah, I mean, weirdly, I hope they do that with Superman. Forget about trying to create a new DC universe. Just make a good Superman movie. Yeah. Rather, for Marvel, make a good Fantastic Four movie. Make a good X-Men movie. I don't care if you bring the two together. Don't. In fact, don't. Make it two different.
Al. That was the move from day one. They should have put Marvel on a 2-year or 3-year hiatus after Endgame and whatever. Just, hey, that's it. Once they were ready to get into Phase 4, the first thing in Phase 4 should have been X-Men, Fantastic Four. They should have just waited because, to me, everything that they've done in Phases 4 and 5 so far have just destroyed the brand. And in my opinion, if they had said, hey, we're going to have an event coming back out of hiatus, and the first film is going to be an X-Men movie after they got the rights from Fox. That's what I would have done because everything, they've just destroyed the brand at this point. And I don't think anybody cares right now about anything coming out from Marvel, with the exception of one-offs like Deadpool and Wolverine. But they really care about that because of what Deadpool had done already. So I think that was the biggest mistake Marvel had. You're 100% right. Give us a good Fantastic Four movie. Give me a good, and they haven't done a good Fantastic Four movie yet. I'm starting to wonder if they can, And I mean, the cast they have right now is A1. It looks amazing. It's a great cast, but I mean, what are they going to do with these guys? They got the gender swap Silver Surfer coming. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the move, and I think they blew it.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll say something again controversial, but I think the reason the MCU worked as a universe was the creative committee behind it, the Marvel creative committee, because it was comprised solely of comic book writers. Brian Michael Bendis, Joe Quesada. As much as you may or may not like them, they had a lot of influence over the stories and scripts leading up to, I believe it was Age of Ultron. And then after Age of Ultron, that's when they disbanded that. But they laid a good path, and I have to believe that when you get comic book writers behind a comic book movie, they'll generally do a good job.
It might work out. It might work out.
Weirdly. Yeah. Okay. From Jay Padrig. Did I do that? Yeah, I did that. Mad Max goes out of its way to rescue a bunch of pregnant women. The original Mad Max wouldn't do that. Yes. And I'll say this about Furiosa. It's world building. It sets up the world that brings us to where Fury Road happens. So there will most likely not be a sequel because the implication is that Fury Road is the direct sequel to Furiosa. Okay. From One Punch Man Tolkien fan, a movie too damn long. We need to pee. Yes, I knew Chris wouldn't be able to hold out for that screening, and he couldn't. From Brian Casting,
look at that.
Yeah, Mad Max, a Furiosa saga. Yeah,
That's cold-blooded,
look,
man.
we'll talk about that on Friday. Let's just say that. Rick Deckard. Furiosa took over for Max in the last film, duped everyone. Yeah, I think we got that. I
Yeah.
think we figured that. I think also that the announcement of Furiosa wasn't a big surprise.
No.
It's a surprising surprise in the fact that, in my opinion, it was good. Just too damn long. Joseph, Bionic Arm have come a long way. That's right. Harry Anders. So she was perfect, and patriarchy was holding her back the whole time from creating the metal arms. Yeah. Yes, because you knew that there was a metal arm hanging there somewhere, but they just wouldn't give it to her. And she had
That's
to make
right.
it herself. Men. All right, for Bruce Gilbert, they toned down the 120-pound woman beating up the 200-pound men at the same time. Nice. Yeah. Watch the movie. You'll see how it
Okay.
turns out.
All right.
Carlos Alfredo Lopez, Angry Girl Boss Magic. Angry Girl Boss Magic. From Harry Anders, soon Furiosa will fight the Terminator and teach him that he is just a robot misogynist from the future. Interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them. Touching grass with my cold dead hands. Go outside to your garage and try to bend a piece of metal into a figure 8 with 2 hands in a garage. Can you do it? Now do it in the backyard with 1 hand. I know.
You could do it in the movie, though.
She did. She did. Because engineers only need 1 arm. From the Introspect M, it's even worse when you can see the movie characters moving slow and waiting for the girl boss to get through her moves. Yeah, again, see the movie and we'll talk about it. Patrick Lemire, did she lose her arm making a sandwich? No, she lost it giving birth. How about that? All right.
Okay, the misogyny in this chat is insane, man. What's going on with you guys?
Okay, we're gonna move on. I'm gonna play you a video.
All right.
And let's preface it this way. On Monday. I went to see a screening. It's Emmy season, which is screening of Lawmen Bass Reeves from Paramount Plus. It's a story of Bass Reeves, the famous. I think he's a bounty hunter. He becomes a U.S. Marshal just after the Civil War. True story. Stars David Oyelowo, and I go to the screening. He's there. They have a Q&A afterwards, and I found an interesting discussion he had during that Q&A, and I want to bring it up because it's about representation, the idea of seeing yourself on the screen, and he gives an interesting comment about it. I may have to elaborate on it a little bit, but the question here, I believe, was. Basically it was he talked about when the series premiered, before the series premiered, he was driving down in LA down Sunset Boulevard and he saw a giant billboard of himself, a black man riding a horse, and he just kind of wept, the fact that A, it was him up there, and B, that he was being represented. And so I'm going to let me pull this up here. Again, Chris hates it when I talk and narrate the actions that I'm doing because I haven't set this up well. It's going to look weird on this. I'm doing it from my cloud drive. So let's see. Okay, I think we can hear it. Here we go.
So that is kind of extraordinary, but also the reaction that the show has garnered. As a Black actor, my experience has been that the work I have done, probably about 9 out of 10 people who come up to me in the street are going to be Black. Because we all go to the movies or we watch TV shows to see ourselves reflected back to us. I truly believe that. Most people of color, especially, of a certain generation, have had to do that through characters that don't necessarily look like them. But, you can really feel the love from people when they go, I saw myself in your work. This is the first piece of work I've done where it is spread across every demographic, every age group. And that is the thing I'm most proud of, because when we first sat down to speak to each other, we zoned in on the idea of how do we make a Western for people who don't love Westerns? How do we make something that colors outside of the lines of those tropes of machismo and revenge and the West in that way that is typical? And what we zoned in on was family. You know, the work-life balance. Like, we all understand what it is to be, whether it's dysfunctional or functional, part of a family whereby, oh, daddy's away, mommy's away, are they coming back? When are they coming back? You know, how do we feel when they are back? And so the elasticity, the drama in the show is built around this man and woman who love each other, set up in this first episode, and they keep on trying to find their way back to each other. That's the show. And that's relatable to anyone and everyone, regardless of whether you love the history or Western or whatever. And so the fact that many people who said, I don't like Westerns, but I like your show.
Yeah. So that was yeah. So let me give a little bit of context, because he was responding to the fact that when he went out, that when he went out. Oh, okay. So the first thing he says is that for all his life, he had seen himself represented in movies and television, but not necessarily by people who looked like him. And that when he did this show, it was the exact opposite. That he was saying that everyone, old and young, from across the entire racial divide, saw themselves in his character. And that's kind of what he was getting at. What are your thoughts after seeing all that?
I've always said that representation is about who you are as a person. Skin color is probably the least interesting thing about anybody. You know, it's about, you know, who you are as an individual, who you are at your core. You know, I grew up in an area, you know, you're probably familiar with the South Bay and the LA area. And I mean, just every race that you can imagine, you know, you see all the different colors of the rainbow. But you know, my friends, I had an eclectic group of friends from everywhere. And it wasn't about what color skin we were. It was about, you know, what we liked. You know, we all liked the nerdy, you know, geeky stuff. You know, that's the stuff that we, you know, all came together around. So it really doesn't matter. I was represented by people that liked that. Like, that represents who I am, you know, in other words. I'm not represented by a skin color, you know. And to me, it's a really reductionist argument, because it kind of makes it seem like the only people that you can rock with are people that look like you, instead of people who are really, like, you know, compare or resonate to you on a really, you know, like, deeper level. You know, it's like we're all skin colors. And so I don't believe that. And I don't think people really believe that in real life. I think that's just an easy, you know, kind of talking point that people like to say, well, you know, you got to see yourself in order to, you know, feel included in this thing. Like he just said, he was represented by, you know, people that like Westerns saw, hey, this guy represents, you know, a Western, and it's just because he's a good character. It really doesn't have anything to do with his skin color. It just has to do with the fact that he's a good character, you know, and that's what you want. You don't care about skin color at that point. You know, I know then, what was it? It was, I think Wizards of the Coast that came out with these black Aragorn cards for Lord of the Rings, where they race swapped Aragorn. And, you know, there was a video of this guy, you know, weeping, saying, oh, I finally am represented by, you know, I see myself in Aragorn now because he's black. And it was like, well, did you see like the other values of Aragorn? Like, that's the stuff that we should be comparing ourselves to, not his skin color, but his values of who he is as an individual person. That's what matters, not, you know, this surface level stuff here. This is irrelevant, in my opinion. And it seems like the people that want to kind of put you in a box and say, nope, you're a skin color. Like, these are the people, when they say everybody else is racist, these are the real racists, because they see skin color first. Before they see anything else, they see skin color. And that's what a racist does. A racist is looking at you on your surface, and they're saying, no, you are this, and this is therefore, and then now they've categorized you and put you in a box. And it's like, no, I'm deeper than that. I'm a deeper person than that. That's not who I am. I'm not just merely a skin color. I'm different than what you may think or whatever. So I think that's one of the major issues when every time I hear this conversation about representation, it kind of, I listen, but then I'm like, yeah, but see, you're already starting to put people in boxes and saying, well, I need to view myself in order to identify with this character on the screen or this character in this television show. And I'm like, I identified with, characters that looked nothing like me when I was growing up, nothing like me, but I identified with who they were.
What do you think about his point, though? His point was that the representation wasn't his skin color, because that was his experience his whole life, watching white people, but being able to relate to their stories. And that the story of Bass Reeves was about a man who was a U.S. Marshal, and every day he would go out and risk his life to capture, what's it, deserters and runaways and criminals, coming and come back. And it's the story of the cop who, you never know that when you step out that door if you're ever going to come back. And that he kind of that's the story that he thought of Bass Reeves was, he was in this family, a loving wife and his two children, and that we as an audience can relate to this idea of just going out and not knowing if you're coming back and then finally coming back. And to me, it's not about representation. Is not about what the person looks like. Representation is about the lived experience of that person. That I can relate to this idea of family, of love, of work, of duty, and come back. And that's the one thing about Bass Reeves you see, is that the thing that Bass Reeves is criticized the most about in this show is the fact that he would choose to represent the law in a country that once treated him as a slave. And
that the values, just like you just hit it. It's the values that you represent. It's not what it's who you are. Again, it sounds like, again, not seeing the show, but it sounds like he had a certain set of values that were important to him. And now, because he's exploring those values or showing those values in this show, other people, regardless of what race or skin tone they happen to be, are resonating and seeing, hey, I feel represented by this guy because he thinks the way I think. That's the kind of representation that matters. When you see, oh, okay, this guy is thinking the way I think, it goes across all color barriers, all racial backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, because again, that's how human beings relate to each other. By what do we value? What do we care about? What's important to us? Is family important to us? Duty, a sense of honor and commitment to one's cause. That's what matters. It's not, oh, I'm this color, that color, and so therefore I must, I see myself through somebody that, believes in, honesty, somebody that believes in loyalty. I see myself in that, and it doesn't matter who that person, woman, man, it doesn't matter. If you're a loyal, honorable person, I see myself in that. And if I see a story representing that, I'm going to see that. That's me. That's how I am.
Yeah.
Like look, real quick.
No, let me just. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, you're about to point out something. So go ahead.
Well, I was saying, like, this character right here, All Might. Okay,
All Might.
I don't know if I'm pointing to him correctly, but All Might is a character in My Hero Academia, and immediately he became my favorite character, and the reason is because his whole story is about what it means to be a hero. Okay, that's what his story, his values, and he's showing these values to these students. What does it mean to be a hero? And to me, that's like, those are the things that I connect with. When you're a father and you're trying to be a hero to your children, or you're trying to stand up for the right things, like, that's what matters, man. It's not about skin color. It's not about, DEI and all that crap. It's about, what do you mean? Who are you as a person? That's what matters. And I wish Hollywood understood that, but they don't. And that's why we get a lot of shitty content, because they don't get it. They think about, oh, it's about, my skin color, and I'm a woman, and I'm a, LGBTQ. It's like, none of that matters. It's about who you are as a person. And so if this guy's talking that same language, I'm rocking with this show. I love it. I love it already. I haven't even seen it, and I love it because it sounds like something I would rock with.
Yeah, I was saying that the movie The Holdovers. My daughter is like every Gen Z. She's not exactly into movies. She's only into movies because of me. And so, I kind of have to curate the movies I force her to see. And with Holdovers, it's like, I need you to see Holdovers. And the thing she told me afterwards was the fact that was the idea that she identified so much with the Paul Giamatti character in that
Yeah.
movie because he was the misfit. He was the misunderstood misfit who was persecuted for just being who he was, and that she saw herself in that character. And she looks nothing like Paul Giamatti, thank God.
Right, obviously.
And the other thing, I'll say this also, the most Asian TV show in terms of the TV show that represented Asian families, in my opinion, the best show that did that was Everybody Loves Raymond. Because the interactions between the mom and the son and the father is just like, oh, this could be almost any Asian family I know. Always trying to live up to the expectations of mom, to the point that you would just drop everything. You would throw your wife under the bus to keep mom happy. And to me, that is representation. It's the fact that this experience is something that you can relate to. And it doesn't matter where you came from or what your skin color is. That's how you relate to people.
Bingo. Again, it's about the lived experiences. And when we see that, again, you can see it immediately. It stands out when you see something that you relate to, and that the show or maybe the character on the show holds some values that you hold. It stands out. And all of a sudden now it's like, hey, I rock with this because of who these characters are. And I feel exactly the way they feel. And I could care less about skin color. I don't care how old they are, how young they are.
Mm-hmm.
I relate to people that are younger than me, older than me, different races, different countries. It doesn't matter. It's, again, when you find people that are, true to who they are. And like I said, the honor and the loyalty, that's what I'm about. And so anytime I see anything like that, it doesn't matter who the character is or what the setting is, I'm almost instantly in love with that project.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that I've mentioned this a lot. I've grown up watching white content, white movies and white TV shows, and damn it, they're pretty good. White people know how to tell stories, and and that's the most frustrating thing about where we're at today is that the stories that we've told in the past, the reason why we know that they're good and why we relate to them, that idea is not being passed on to this next generation. And that's why this current, there's only a few people who know how to write stuff. We'll see what Terry Matalas does with Marvel, but it's a dying breed. And what DEI has done, it has taken these great storytellers who are old and said, hey, you're no longer needed. Why don't you just go retire? If you don't want to retire, we'll dig something up about you and get you fired.
Yeah, right.
Get you canceled. Disney. If you read the last D Files with Wish was meant to honor Walt Disney and his legacy. The problem was when Wish was being created, they had gotten rid of all the old white guys, all the guys who knew the traditions of Disney. They got rid of them, and so now they had to go and mine the past and figure out what made what was Disney magic, and they failed miserably at it when they had people employed there just years before who understood that. And that's the shame of where the industry is today.
Well, when you think about it from this standpoint too, is that the people that they want to put on the DEI filmmakers, the writers, the directors, and all of that, these guys, they're trying to put them on, but the content that they're making is so on the nose when it comes to a message that they can't possibly write a story that resonates with everyone. And to me, that's the real tragedy of all of this, is that these guys should be held to the same standard of writing good content. Hey, just good content across the board. I don't care what your skin color is. It has to fit with what it is that we're trying to do. No agendas. Just get the agenda out of the way. And, one of the things you said is the white writers, well, they don't have DEI to fall back on. They actually have to be good at their jobs. They actually have to write something that's compelling and interesting, and it grabs the audience by the throat and it makes them think and care and cry. You actually have to do that kind of stuff in Hollywood in order to get it, and it doesn't matter. Anybody can do that. But when you get to lean on your DEI, I'm just going to lean over here on DEI and my race and my skin color and my sexuality or whatever. When you get to lean on that, you don't actually have to put yourself in the arena of being, hey, I got to fight it out with these other writers that don't have that luxury. Like if you're a white writer, you just literally have to be better than everybody else right now at this point in Hollywood. You literally just have to be that damn good in order to get on and for people to, pay attention to you. Like, yo, I mean, this screenplay is so good, I can't put it down. I mean, this is amazing. I can't wait to make it. You gotta be that good versus these cats that are leaning on the racial message. It's like, oh, okay, you're the right skin color, you're the right.
You gotta hire me because I'm white.
You gotta hire
I'm
me,
black.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, imagine if those folks actually had to compete on the same level as the guy that doesn't have all of these, quote unquote handicaps, as they like to call them. If they didn't have to compete, if they actually had to compete with that, they would actually get better. They would actually write stories the way that stories need to be written. All the lost art of storytelling would come back because they would be forced to. But unfortunately, since they've given them a way out, because you fit the check boxes. All right, you checked all of these boxes. Perfect. Let's hire them. Bring them in. And it's like that doesn't do anything for the stories, man.
Let me just say this. It's not that this is a white thing where white people have the monopoly on good storytelling. Right. It's just the fact that white people have been doing it longer for obvious reasons. There are minority, there are people of color, there are women, there are LGBT writers and creators who know how to do this. The problem is that Hollywood refuses to hire those people because they don't subscribe to the message, or they won't stand behind the message that the way that Hollywood and the system wants them to. And so the good writers are being minority writers are being suppressed in favor of people who are gung-ho for the message. And that's the shame of it all. The woman who wrote Megan, the killer doll, a black woman.
Oh yeah.
And after watching Megan, I was like, why didn't she write She-Hulk? Because it had humor, it had horror in it, it had drama in it. I can only imagine what she could have done with She-Hulk. Hey, I forgot that we started late, and I have a hard out, so we're gonna go right into we gotta go into chats. So let's do that.
Go ahead, bro.
For Chris for $10. And now that the wokesters have destroyed all the IPs that were not born as woke, do you think they will finally move on and create their own popular, lucrative, award-winning, stunning, and brave IPs? No. And I mean, the only way that's going to happen is one of these wokesters realizes the error of their way and that they've been going down the wrong path and decides, hey, why don't I go back and watch Twilight Zone or watch Star Trek or watch some really good stuff from the past and say, can I replicate that? And then live life a little bit and incorporate your lived experience in that.
Bingo.
All right, from Red French Moon. How does Oyelowo factor in anime, the success of anime in the West where we don't look like Goku, Gon, and Zoro? Let me be clear. David was not saying that he wants to see people like him, but he wants to create characters that people can see themselves in, no matter what race they are or what they look like or what gender they are. That's ultimately it, to see yourself in that character, regardless of what that character looks like. From Sab and Rab MME, heck, I identify with Wolverine and the Hulk, and I'm not green. I know. From Bro Group, it would be nice if people stop looking at color of the person's skin and start looking at their character. Someone said that a long time ago. Don't remember who. In fact, David played that character in a movie a while ago.
Yeah, that's right.
The DA is an oracle. Makes too much sense. David Oyelowo must have missed Blazing Saddles then. I'm going to post that whole discussion, the whole Q&A on the member.
It was kind of hard to hear. I was trying to pick up on some things. It was a little hard to hear. So maybe,
and I think he was also being diplomatic in the things you were saying. Okay. And I'll say it this way. Let me qualify some of the things he said. But like he talked about being a slave in a movie or on television was not something he ever wanted to do. And because he felt that the characters of slaves were one note and it was all about oppression. And that he really had to be talked into doing Bass Reeves because slaves were human beings, and he wanted to portray that when you go out into the fields and do your work, he comes back home and he's a person. And that's the whole point, is that slaves were people, and that when he went back to his wife, that he was a person in that, and that he wanted to show a greater dimension in this kind of character. And that's why for him, that slave characters were just never appealed to him. because they didn't, because the way they were written, especially in movies
Right.
and television, they had zero depth. All right. From Chelsea M, my high school back, and you'll see that in the Q&A when I post it. My high school back in the mid 2000s was super diverse. Everyone hung out, was cool with everyone. We didn't care about race. I will tell you this, my high school back in the mid 1980s was not diverse. I was one of a handful of, I was one of 3 Asians. There was 1 black guy and two Hispanics. I hate to say it, but white people treat us pretty well. I mean, white people are pretty good to us. You know, the people who bullied us because they were assholes and not because they were racist.
Right.
All right.
Right. Exactly.
From Oliver Lowry Frog, they don't just see skin color first; they choose to define you with it. Yeah, that's the
Exactly.
shame of it all. Let's see. From Patrick Lemire, should Asian people stop supporting NFL due to lack of representation? Yeah, yeah. I mean, stop watching games until more Asians appear. Not only in football, but in basketball too. You know, we may not be able to reach the hoop, but we can shoot a ball through it. We may not be able to block. But, okay, from George White, flawed characters are usually the most relatable, no matter the skin color. Yeah, yeah. Somehow, imperfect people are easy to relate to. My favorite characters are Superman, Sonic, and Spider-Man. None of them are black, not even being human. Not one even being human. As a kid, when I first saw them, they simply were cool. Yeah, interesting. And the Drifter 67. First time I heard Jimi Hendrix, it was on the radio. Didn't care what his skin color was. I love Alan. Patrick Lemire says, I love Alan's daughter. She's a frustrated college professor. Oh, she'll never do that. From Jean Hu for 742. Thank you for the super chat. At a restaurant, no one cares who's in the kitchen. We only care about the quality of what comes out on the plate. It's the same thing. Yes.
Bingo.
Go to
Bingo.
a P.F. Chang's. Go to P.F. Chang's and tell me that that's authentic Chinese food.
Oh, it
Okay.
isn't?
It isn't. Samuel Ayrton, although was voted best Asian food in Orange County for 5 years in a row.
You're joking.
Wow. Yeah, I wish I was joking. You know, I mean, Olive Garden was the best Italian food for the longest time. And finally, we got better food to come in. From Samuel Ayrton for 1999. Thank you for that. Would be cool if they made it believable or at least used real stories. Lady Death or the Night Witches in World War II Russia. Hell yeah. But no, we get girl boss lecturing men in Shadow in the Clouds. That's interesting because I think they even do that in biographies and true stories. They'll still make the girl boss because you had to. I could.
It's about the message. It's about the agenda. That's what it's about. They'll change history. All right, to make it fit the agenda, man. Been seeing them going on Yasuke with the Wikipedia, man. It's been a battle on Wikipedia to try to update. You know, like, come on, guys. Like, we're really going to change history to fit somebody's narrative. It's insane, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's several historical movies where they gender swapped because they could or because they wanted to.
They could.
And it's like,
wow,
yeah. All right, and then finally from Lance Goodthrust for $5. Great name.
Oh my God!
Hey guys, just say it. We need Harvey Weinstein back. No, we don't. Harvey ruined it for everybody.
Nah, we don't need this guy.
Yeah. No, you could do this without. You could do this without having to sleep with anyone. All right. Well, hey, I do have to wrap this up. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Derek. Why don't you tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, Derek Anderson, the DA. You can search in YouTube or just at _the DA is where you can find me. Dropping videos every day, usually every day. And then also have a live stream that I do every Saturday, the DA's office, usually with my friend Terrence, Uncle T, as he likes to call himself. And we just talk, and we laugh and we, talk to the chat. you know, and we're building. So, you know, welcome aboard. If anybody has joined, appreciate that. We're just going to keep going and doing what we do and having a good time doing it. So I appreciate you guys over at Film Thread. You guys are the bomb. Thank you very much, Chris Gore, for getting me to come out and be a part of this thing. I love it. I love this family. I love the chat. Everything is awesome. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much, Al, for bringing me in as well.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. Lastly, want to thank the mods, Lord Thoth and Latino Slant, Polly. Yes, Furiosa is perfect. The perfect babe. And thank you to Lori, Atomic Lori, for helping us out, and for Glenn Nuccio, and then for Chris, who's been sending me notes during the live stream. So there you go. Join us Friday. If you're going to see Furiosa tomorrow, be sure to join us on Friday. Let us know if we're right or wrong. Monday is going to be a special versus on Memorial Day. And then next week, we'll have another guest joining me as well. So, yeah, I think that's it. So with that, I can find it. It's here. Let's get out of here.